how can government strengthen digital resilience? So there's a lot to talk about, and we only have 20 minutes. But Mohammed, maybe I can start with you. I want to start with the why. Why is digital resilience important for governments?
Well, first of all, I feel very honored to be here with you and accompanying Sheikh Salman with this very important topic. And if I would answer this question, I'll start by an incident where you wake up morning and you find thousands of businesses are shutting down, hundreds of flights got cancelled, and maybe hundreds of critical services such as healthcare, education, banking, they go offline. This is exactly what happened in July 2024 last year, when a failing software update ended up with crashing 8.5 million machines worldwide. So this is a wake-up call for all of us, not only within the UAE, but worldwide, that such incident should emphasize on the importance of digital resiliency and being ready for such incident. We cannot afford to have such incident again, which cost the world more than $5 billion as a direct loss. So, especially for those nations who are actually putting the digital economy and their ambition to increase the GDP contribution. For example, the UAE has decided to double up the GDP contribution of the digital economy within the economy by from 9.7 to almost 19.4 in the next decade. So putting the digital resiliency part of their endeavor to reach such a journey, it's crucial.
And Mohammed, what's interesting about that is if you increase that percentage of the UAE economy, that's exciting because we all rely on our digital technologies and et cetera. But it also means it's vulnerable, like it has to be protected,
Indeed.
Right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Salman, can I bring you in here? Just to start on the why. I want to get to the what and the how a bit later, but Salman, why? Why is this so important?
I mean, you just need to look at all the sessions that we've been through, and we hear one statement: digital transformation, AI, and this is the next frontier, and this is now the reality that we live in. Governments have changed their services to electronics, banking has gone digital, no one wants to go to a desk and transact traditionally how they used to. So we need to have the utmost trust in these services. If that trust does not exist, then we cannot interact with that. So that is, we need to maintain as governments that trust and ensure that citizens use those services so that we can better their lives and give them more time to spend with their families. So ensuring that there is resiliency in our cyber services and our digital transformation is the utmost importance because it allows the country to be more efficient, adapt greater technologies such as robotics. Everything's going to be on Industry 4.0. If technology is not trusted, if tech manufacturing is not done correctly, if there is insecurity in our smart cities, how will we have driverless cars? So this resiliency, if not done right, will lead to a delay in adoption of these technologies and delay in the development of our society. So I think resiliency needs to play a greater role and should play a greater role in our digital transformation.
Salman, this is so interesting because the three sessions that I've been involved with over the last 30 to 40 minutes, there's versions of trust. We talked to Billy half an hour ago, and we're going to need to build trust with civil society as those amazing technologies come to market. Diego and Michael just talked about trust and information and those. And again, here we are from a more sort of maybe public sector, government sector. Civil society needs to trust in these services.
Yeah.
That my banking information is not going to be lost, or my access to healthcare is not going to be lost, that Mohammed mentioned earlier. But I mean, this is absolutely fascinating to me that as we drive these digital technologies forward, we also need to bring in trust or ensure trust. But Salman, that brings me to the how.
Yeah.
We know the why. Hopefully the why is clear for everyone. But before I come back to Mohammed, How do we do this?
I mean, so it's quite simple. It's not really nuclear science. If you look at banking sector, healthcare, the banking sector now has audit reports that they need to go back to the central banks where they can show the central bank that you can trust that we are handling the citizens' money in the right way and we're not putting finance at risk. All we need to do is have the right standards in place and ensure they are audited and delivered to a central authority, whether we leverage the same regulator at a sector level, say the central banks checks the financial health of the bank and checks the cyber health, or you can create a special vehicle. As long as we come up with a standard that is achievable, that is compliable, then we can elevate our cyber readiness. We don't need to achieve 1 to 100. Don't forget, industry right now, you cannot expect a bank to be the same par as the healthcare sector. Sometimes healthcare sectors are at an earlier stage where you find banking sector is more resilient. So you need to come up with a maturity model. What I mean by a maturity model is that you can say, well, banks, you need to be at level, say, 3. Healthcare sectors or other small industries need to be at level 1. Why do we do that? We need to slowly push that line of security. There is an understanding in the cyberspace where you can say if you implement just 20% of those controls, those standards, you can elevate your cyber resiliency by up to 80%. It is literally an exponential curve.
Right.
But it becomes significantly more difficult as you go along. What does it say? It says that you don't really need to be 100%, but you just made life so much more difficult that that attacker will move somewhere else. But you need to keep pushing, moving up that maturity model. Keep pushing that sector go up and up and up. Because, as the previous group has said, we're going to have AI coming to the picture. AI is now going to lower that barrier of an attack. It used to take so much knowledge, so much capability to be able to, to have that attack happen. What happens now with AI is that bar has just gone down and the volume will get to increase. And so we need to quickly move up that pace.
Right. That's a tremendous challenge. I really admire what both of you are up to because this sounds very, very difficult. But Mohammed, coming to you on the how, how should we be doing this, increasing this digital resilience for governments?
Well, before I joined this session, I was looking for the right definition of digital resilience. So all the definition was actually going towards the ability for governments or agencies to intercept or anticipate, withstand, and recover from digital disruption caused by either cyber attacks or system failures or technological shift. But I believe this definition by itself focus on the risk. It doesn't talk about the opportunities. If we're talking about digital resilience, means that you are ready to absorb and to be ready for the future, to become your digital economy more robust and accept more innovation and making your country and your nation a hub where all the digital innovators join you. So if we look at how, I think that government has to look at it from a very holistic point of view, taking into consideration two lenses. One is the risk, which is very obvious, and the other one, which is the opportunities. So I can summarize the digital resiliency framework into maybe 5. I call it the digital resiliency stack. It starts with the infrastructure, and I'm going to talk about each pillar by itself. Infrastructure, technology, governance means laws, regulations, policies, etc., as well as the people, which are very important in this equation, and is the partnership, whether it's locally, regionally, internationally. So if we're talking about the infrastructure by itself, now government and nation has to really invest in the infrastructure, not for today, but for the next decade, in order to be ready for either the good day or the bad days. The good days means that there are an opportunity, as we are witnessing the demand of AI, which is happening in an accelerated way, are we ready for infrastructure? Is the infrastructure ready to accommodate this one? And it's not only about the network, the telecom operators, which they are doing a good job here in the UAE, but I believe that all pillars of infrastructure has to be ready and has to be scalable enough to respond to these days. For example, the ability to secure the power required for the data centers to operate and provide the good services. The ability to, the commitment from the governments to allocate enough lands for those data centers to thrive and grow within the country. So this is from infrastructure point of view. And I can give an example of how it paid off when the pandemic came in suddenly to the world. Those agencies and those countries who invested in infrastructure were ready enough to accommodate everyone online, and the life never stopped. In the UAE, for example, we have managed to shift 1 million students from physical learning into online learning, thanks to the infrastructure which is there. That's the infrastructure point of view. I don't want to go further on it. From technology point of view, as Sheikh Salman mentioned, that with the advancement of AI can be used for good and bad. So the complexity of the attacks in terms of magnitude and in terms of the sophistication has to be treated in different way. The conventional way of having a very low-end technology system won't help. So we need to think about bringing up the next generation technologies and software to mitigate a different type of cybersecurity risk. And at the same time, we have to think about encouraging our partners, worldwide partners, like for example, the cloud computing hyperscalers to come to the country and establish their presence there. And I believe that UAE and Bahrain is a good role model for the region as a welcoming countries to attract those things. Many of the hyperscalers, they are actually exist here, and they help the government and they help the private sectors to have a good digital presence. The third part, which is policies and regulation, there are different policies and regulation has to be there. One of them is combating e-crime, because you need to criminalize the bad acts. At the same time, there are other policies which are available to spread the culture of being a digital resilience. For example, the cabinet recently introduced, the cabinet of UAE recently introduced a service level policy, where they are actually pushing and urging government agencies to make their service as good as private sector services in terms of availability, 24/7, latencies, performance. So this is a move where I believe that it helped the community at large understand the importance of being a digital nation.
Right.
The third important, or the fourth pillar, which is the people. I can bet on that in the cybersecurity or digital resilience era, always the demand of experts exceed the supply. That's a fact that we have to...
And when you say people, do you mean people within the government sector, or is this people in civil society relating to government services?
I believe both.
Right.
And I believe even the end user who are actually using digital services, because the end user might be the weakest link in the chain. If they are not aware of the risk of cybersecurities and digital resilience, they might end up with being in a bad situation, being hacked or compromised. So the people has to be looked at with very cautious, and a lot of capacity building program has to be done to uplift their capability when it comes to dealing with the digital resilience. The last thing, I think it's about digital cooperation on the international level, because unfortunately, or fortunately sometimes, these risks are borderless.
Right.
So we should not think about that there is only a target within a country, but it's spread out different countries. Without having a digital cooperation into that matter, the life will be much easier.
That's a perfect segue, because I actually would ask someone exactly the same question, the importance of international cooperation. I mean, we can't do, I imagine we can't do these things on our own. There's no point having one country just focus on themselves, but Salman, how important is this international cooperation across borders?
I think cybersecurity centers, by their very nature, are in constant state of sharing threat intelligence, best practices, and we're constantly learning of each other. So, we were late in the game at Bahrain, and we had to learn from our colleagues across the nation, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and that kind of global cooperation, even internationally, allowed us to quickly ramp up our abilities. So, without the help of our colleagues, it would have taken us a lot longer. So last year, Bahrain was ranked in the late 60s in the global readiness. But with the partnership of our partners, we've learned the tricks, things that we need to do, that allowed us to quickly ramp up our ranking to being leaders with our colleagues of the UAE. That kind of cooperation is the sharing of knowledge, sharing of tools, sharing of information and skills that allow us to quickly ramp up our abilities. Now, that goes without saying. Without skills, you don't know what to do with that. So I think even cooperating on capacity building at international level is of vital importance. So, and bringing that in country so that you can avoid the challenges that the globe is facing right now. Because to me, one of the most important elements to have in a country is competency. Without competency, we will be in a difficult situation.
And is that, again, sort of people within the government departments, or where is that most important?
No, I think you look at individuals.
Yep.
So IT people in general,
right,
need to be in the private sector and the public sector competent in not only IT and in cybersecurity. It is not cybersecurity's responsibility to fix things. It's a shared responsibility model. So, take for the developer. The developers need to be competent enough to develop code that is secure. The infrastructure people need to be aware and understand what to do from a cybersecurity perspective. And the same thing from the networking. So it is a shared responsibility model. So every single group needs to be capable, and you build that. So you inherit people that are in the working currently, and you need to upskill them, and you want to embed that at university. So the people who graduate, our young students, are ready from day one. So the developers that come out of university understand how to code securely. The infrastructure people who are going to be the DB admins, the infrastructure. Now we're moving away from that terminology to DevOpsSec, and that is where the world is heading. This is where it should be, and it's the most efficient mechanism to quickly develop applications.
Interesting. Mohammed, in the last minute or so, we talked yesterday as we were catching up, there are so many stakeholders here, at the government level, at the private sector. I imagine communication is so important for both of you, working with all your colleagues in these different areas, just communicating and make sure everyone understands the importance. Is that a fair assumption to make?
It is. I believe that without having a communication, especially when it comes to responding to incident, things will be very vague, and we won't be able to help our colleagues when they are in trouble. And this kind of communication is happening at the country level, and sometimes we need to also cooperate hand in hand with our colleagues and brothers in the GCC. And this is evidenced by the GCC CERT, where a lot of activities happening, initiative happening to foster the collaboration between us on the region. We are sharing our threat intelligence together, and this is very important for the welfare of the region. But also, we are part of other regional or maybe bigger organizations responsible for cybersecurity, mitigating cybersecurity, like the OAC CERT and the FIRST, which is the Forum for Incident Response and Security Teams in the United States. So the cybersecurity, if I can summarize it, that it's not a one country problem, it's the world problem. So we have to work hand in hand with our peers and everywhere to mitigate it, because it's good for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, actually, as the clock just went zero, I think that was a perfect place to finish, and a great sort of sentiment to finish on. I just want to draw this hour to a close. For me, these sessions have been fantastic with Diego, Michael, Billy, Salman and Mohammed here. But what I think trust seems to be so important. We've all got different angles on digital resilience and resilient governments. But in the 3 sessions I heard, trust is going to be so important. Trust within government departments, trust with partners, international community, and also trust with civil society. And that communication point there at the end that Mohammed really makes. But that draws our hour to a close. Thank you so much for joining us, and please join me in thanking Mohammed and Salman for sharing their experience.